guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Margot Halleck, and today I'll be teaching you how to paint on a handbag. I recently did a project in collaboration with the brand Gaynor Minden where I hand painted one of their bags, and when I posted it to my Instagram account, I got a lot of questions about it. So what I want to do today is teach you how to do the same thing. So I have a new bag from Gaynor Minden, but this technique can be used on virtually any surface. So if handbags aren't your thing, you can customize a pair of sneakers, a jean jacket, pretty much anything you like. I don't have any fabric paint, but that's okay because today I'll be using acrylic paint as well as Liquitex fabric medium. The reason for using medium is so that the paint will stick better to fabric, and typically you'll just follow the directions on the bottle. I'm adding a couple of drops to my paint dabs, which mix together as I'm preparing the colors. As far as brushes go, you could go with pretty much any brush. And you start out by just mixing the paints together with the fabric medium and try to get a nice smooth consistency. And then when you're looking at your bag or your garment, it's good to plan what you're going to do ahead of time. So I'm going to freehand this, but I would also recommend that you sketch it out if you have something a little bit more specific that you want to put on your bag. So I'm making sure that my consistency is a little bit buttery and creamy, and I'm going to start by just creating my first figure. And I'm going to be doing dancers on here like I did for the original Gaynor Minden bag that I did on Instagram. And so I start by doing the head, and I'm going to be following the basic principles of how to draw a human figure. And if you haven't already seen my previous video about that, I'll include the card above so you can learn how to do that too. So as always, I work from the top down, starting with the head, and then I'm really going to keep this piece very abstract and gestural in quality, and that's just part of my personal style. So I've got the head and the main section of the body, and now I'm just going to be doing a tutu or skirt, and this is just going to be a sequence of U-type shapes. So I'm kind of creating a U right here, and then just doing another one and another, and that's going to be for the skirt of this particular dancer. I'm adding some paint dabs now, which I really love doing. And as you can probably see, I'm not fully mixing and blending out the colors on my palette before applying them to my bag. And so when I'm picking up the dark blue and the light blue paint with my brush and putting them on the bag, it creates these striations of color, kind of like what you're seeing right here with the turquoise and green. And it gives it this really beautiful life and kind of a rainbow effect, if you will. So you can do that by picking up two colors, not really mixing them together, and then just painting directly on that surface. Again, here I'm adding some dabs of a little bit of a darker color so that it stands out, and adding some highlights and lowlights throughout the skirt and around the body to build a little bit more dimension and depth. For the next dancer on this piece, I'm going to be doing a darker blue, and I think I determined earlier on that I was just going to keep the palette in here a very simple combination of blue, green, and some gold as accents. So you'll see that coming up soon. And while I'm on the subject of colors, it's always a good idea to think about the color of the material or the surface that you're painting on, and really be mindful of that because, of course, that will affect the overall color scheme. And so you want to pick colors that will go together with the item that you're painting it on. So in this instance, for example, because my bag is pink, I probably wouldn't pick colors like a lighter pink or, more tan kind of beiges because I don't think those would go together with this particular color scheme. So think about that when you're planning your painting. And so for this particular figure, I'm going to create a skirt that is made entirely of paint dabs. And I think that's going to lend some nice energy. And so as you can see here, I'm also using some darker instances of blue. And I think that's a really important thing to call out is when you're painting just about anything is to always make sure that you have colors ranging in different values. So values meaning from a pale instance of that color to darker ones so that your painting isn't too flat or too one note. And if you like this ballerina style for a bag or something that you're working with, I'm going to add a link below so that you can download a template file that'll help you with sketching it out beforehand. And I'm just isolating my paintings to the areas of the bag that are canvas and flat. So I'm avoiding the ribbon parts. There are two vertical ribbons that are running through the center of the bag. So I'm avoiding those because I think the paint won't stick that well to those areas. And it's a good idea to evaluate your article of clothing before you start painting to figure out what areas will be the best areas to paint on and which are areas to avoid. Like handles, for example. I don't think I would paint on the bag's handles because it gets touched a lot and it's probably a lot more prone to scratching off. Back to this painting though, I'm going to pick up some blue to add a little bit more dimension and have a two-tone kind of effect going on here. And so I'm going back to these sort of U-type shapes. And again, not over mixing my colors because I really love how it looks when you don't really mix them that well and then you have these striations of color that alternate between a darker blue and a lighter blue. And honestly, this is one of those things where through trial and error, I discovered that I really like this effect. And there's a good amount and a good deal of trial and error involved in painting and in art. And so just go with the flow and see where it takes you. I'm adding some really abstract leaf-like shapes, and I'm not getting too hung up on making sure that it looks too detailed or too correct in a botanical sense, because the look that I'm going for is a lot more artsy and a little bit more expressive in general. And so now is the fun part where I'm going to add some golden and metallic colors to the mix. And so I'm using golden fluid acrylics and I'm mixing that with the Liquitex fabric medium. And I'm going to add some touches of gold and bronze throughout. And so I'm using the iridescent bronze and iridescent gold deep for these special touches. And I really love the golden metallic paints because I think they add some beautiful shine to virtually any piece. And they come in a lot of different colors. So they have silvers and a lot of other tones in the gold family. And as you can see, as I'm adding these little golden sparkles throughout, it really brings the piece forward and gives it this really otherworldly kind of shine and glow to it, which I think is really beautiful. And the key to metallics, in my opinion, is to use them quite sparingly. So really choose the areas of the painting where you want it to pop and not overdo it because otherwise it kind of becomes too much. I'm focusing all of my metallics on those paint dabs that I was doing at the beginning and highlights here and there for the leaves or for part of the skirts, for example. As you're working on the garment of your choice, I think it's always a good idea to pause every now and then, step back and evaluate it from a distance, because sometimes when you're working really closely with something, things can look a certain way when you're close up, but then you need to take a step back to see what it looks like from a little bit more of a distance, which is how most people look at most things. And if you don't have two different metallic colors to add to the piece, one is perfectly fine. I just happen to have both of these on hand, so both the bronze and the gold on hand. But you really don't even need metallics at all if that's not your thing. So figure out what it is you're painting on, and then once you know what your style is and what you want to paint, then you can figure out what colors you want to add and what colors make sense for that particular item, whether it's a bag or something else. And this particular bag is going to a friend of mine who has a Pomeranian, and her name is Mama Mia, and she has this beautiful golden color, and so we thought that it would be great to put Mama Mia on this bag, and so I'm painting her in gold and adding the accents and her facial features in a dark blue, and she's also going to be surrounded by a rainbow of brush strokes. I'm pretty much done now, so I'm just going over the entire piece and seeing if there are any little accents I want to add here or there, or places I want to refine it a little bit more. And now I'm done. So there's one final step before we are ready to wear our handbag, and that is setting the paint. So what you'll need for this is a towel and an iron. The first thing you're going to do is set your towel on top of your bag and try to flatten it as much as possible. Then take your iron and turn it onto the hottest setting and iron in a circular motion. You want to make sure that your paint is completely dried, so I would recommend waiting at least 24 hours before doing this step. And the heat from the iron should set your paint. And that's it, you're done. You have a beautifully customized handbag. So I hope this video was useful if you're looking to customize an item in your wardrobe, and that you hopefully learned something new today. If you have any questions, leave them in the box below, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.